Welcome to this episode of the Game Industry Rundown. Today, we're going to talk about Wilds of Eldraine pre-release and how things went. Stick around. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Mark. I've been a game store owner for more than 27 years. And on today's episode of the Game Industry Rundown, we're going to talk about pre-release weekend for Magic the Gathering. There's been a unique history with pre-release events. Way back in the day, a pre-release was a huge weekend at a hotel ballroom or a convention center. Those events were run by premier level tournament organizers. These are the guys that would run the old school PTQs and even the Grand Prix events. There was a list of premier level organizers who would run pre-release events in their city. They were mostly big cities, and we're in South Bend, Indiana. If you draw a reasonable drive distance circle around Chicago, around Indianapolis, and around Detroit, you end up with kind of a triangular shape of these circles, and the spot in the center where none of them reach, that's where South Bend, Indiana is. We're literally 2 to 3 hours from every major city. So back in the day for pre-release, it was very common that our players in our area would get hotel rooms. They would carpool and travel to these big events. And these events were a thing. I mean, they were huge. Granted, they only benefited the PTOs. They didn't benefit local stores. I am grateful that Wizards of the Coast decided to end this practice and put pre-release tournaments in stores. But over time, they have done things that make these events not special anymore. And we're going to talk about that stuff. And this is not, don't take this as me complaining. I love Magic. It's, been a big part of my adult life. And a lot of times these videos will seem like they're just bitch sessions and complaining about things and, clickbaity titles and that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to do that here. This is just real talk. It's my opinion. If you ask another game store owner or players, their opinion may be different because we're all speaking from our perspective. So it's all different, and that's okay. When Wizards first allowed stores to run pre-releases at the store level, that was pretty huge. We went from, pre-release weekend used to be the weekend that I would schedule family trips and the honey-do list and things like that because everybody was going to travel away from us and no one was coming to our store that weekend. When we got the ability to run events at the store level, that drastically changed everything. Now, all of a sudden, it was a huge weekend for us. The only limitations were usually one of two things. How much product Wizards of the Coast said we would be allocated for that. They based those decisions on whatever metrics they use. That's not important for this discussion, but just based on previous attendance and that kind of things. The other consideration was physical space within the store. We had to cap events. We took sign-ups early. People were in the habit of pre-registering weeks in advance to guarantee their spot at the local store. It was a thing. Fast forward a few years of doing that, pre-release attendance, there's ebbs and flows. We're in northern Indiana, so the wintertime pre-releases are all questionable. It could be It could be 55 degrees in February, and it could be minus 10 with 3 feet of snow. We usually won't know that till the day of. But for the most part, attendance at pre-release events was always good, always high, and it turned it into a huge weekend for us, and I'm grateful for that. A few years in, they decided that they would allow WPN stores a small amount of booster boxes that could be sold during pre-release weekend. Again, I really liked this idea. It was a way to monetize some of the people who were there for the events. It was a small, controlled amount of product, and I won't pretend to be in a position to tell other people what they should do with the price of things, but if there's limited early supply of something, the price of that limited early supply should probably be more than the glut of supply on release weekend. A early release box has a higher value than readily available boxes a week later. Some stores did this, and some stores went about business as usual. I don't, to this day, I don't understand why some stores sell magic boxes at $5 over cost. I just don't get it. By the time you do a credit card and put it in the bag, you're breaking even. I know. There's a lot of intangible benefits to a high amount of foot traffic. I get that aspect of it. We don't need to argue about that here. But overall, the limited release of some booster product during pre-release weekend was a hit. Then Wizards of the Coast said you can have as much of all the product that you want, and you can sell it on pre-release weekend. Here's where I think they made a misstep. In business, one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy is when a company or a person says, my goal is XYZ, and then the next 3 things they do are practically directly working against going towards that goal. I don't understand why people do that. As a business owner, if I say this is the goal, everything that I do should be working towards that goal. If I state a goal and then actively work against it, what am I doing? I just don't understand that when companies or people do that. That's kind of what I think is going on here. By giving us all the product on pre-release weekend, and this is absolutely a Band-Aid over the gaping chest wound of big box stores breaking street date. This is how Wizards has chosen to fix that. It turned pre-release weekend into, it's basically release weekend. We still call it pre-release weekend, but it's not. It's release weekend. The cards are out. You can buy as much as you want. There's nothing special about playing in a pre-release. This past weekend for the Wilds of Eldraine pre-release, we had the lowest attendance for a weekend of pre-release events ever. Part of that could be that it was Labor Day. Part of that could be that we have 1 or 2 new competitors in town. I don't really have concrete information about what they did, but you hear things. Other players talk, and the buzz around town, at least what I heard, was not a situation where one of our competitors scooped us and everybody went there. As far as I know, again, just hearsay, our competitors didn't really see big attendance numbers either. So now we're left with what else could it be? Holiday weekend. The weather was pretty nice. It was actually quite hot for Labor Day weekend. We can always blame the holiday weekend, but I mean, from my perspective, there's always something going on. There's a big movie release. There's a holiday weekend. We're in South Bend, Indiana, the home of Notre Dame football. So we have a situation where 6 Saturdays out of the year, the population of our city basically doubles, because the population of South Bend is right about 100,000 people, and the Notre Dame football stadium holds 105,000 people. So when you live here on football Saturdays, you either go to the game with everybody else or you stay home. So that makes running events for us kind of tricky. We have to make sure that we don't have people trying to get to the store at the same time football traffic is heading into the stadium or leaving after the game. But that's unique to our market. There's always something going on that you can blame for lack of attendance. Our job as store owners is to make people pick our event over going to a movie or playing games at home or something along those lines. And one of the things that always helped people choose pre-release events was it was a big deal. It was the first chance to get cards. It was something that players look forward to, and they didn't want to miss it. It was a can't-miss event. It's not that anymore. It's kind of a meh event now. So I really wish, you know who does it right? Pokemon. Pokemon does it right. We get about a 9-day pre-release window. It's basically Saturday through the following Sunday. They call it a 2-week window, but it's really only those 8 or 9 days. Saturday through the following Sunday. And then the street date for the product would be the following Friday. But as a pre-release store, we get to sell it on Monday. If Wizards of the Coast did that, that would be spectacular. 2 weekends to run pre-release events and then wide product release on Monday, sign me up. That would be absolutely spectacular. I don't pretend to be in a position to tell Wizards of the Coast how to run their business. I have no idea the logistics involved in how they do things, but I know if Pokemon could do it, Wizards could do it. They just have to decide that that's what they want to do. They have to decide that they want stores to be successful with pre-releases. Also, this past weekend for the Eldraine PreRelease, they did a promotion where anybody who played in the pre-release got 1,000 points on MTG Arena. Now, I know some stores thought that was really great, and they were going to promote the hell out of it as a way to increase attendance, but I don't feel it's my job to promote Arena. If Wizards wants to promote Arena, that's on them. They should segment it in such a way that their promotion of Arena isn't in direct conflict with the promotion of a local store running a pre-release event. I don't pretend that I'm preventing people from finding out about Arena. I'm sure if people are interested, they're already there. They know about it. Me not saying anything about this 1,000 experience bonus or whatever, that didn't really make any difference to anybody that came to our event. Nobody cared. It was an automatic thing. There was no reason to bring it up. Anybody who came got the points added to their account. They didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to do anything. It was a pointless addition and just a watering down of the message. So that's probably it for this episode. Wizards of the Coast, do what Pokemon does. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but Magic should do what Pokemon does. 2 weekends for pre-release, and then a Monday release after that. Big Box can do whatever they want on Friday. We would get to sell it on Monday. I think that would be a huge bonus to local game stores and would make the product do better. I honestly believe that. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I got this wrong, tell me why. We'll argue about it, and we'll still be friends. That's it for this episode. We'll see you next time.